Okay, so I was doing my hair and then I realized I said I would do a tutorial on how to use a deep waver if you have a deep waver, and how to use it and not look like Lizzie McGuire, if you remember Lizzie McGuire. So I'm going to show you that today, or how I use it. I've already started, and I have used the deep waver all the way around. I do the same thing that I do in all of my videos. I work in 3 sections. So I do the first part is like just above the ears and down, and I section off all the rest. So bringing the next part down is just about the temples. And then if I drew a line all the way around the back, and I'll just section this out of the way. Okay, so what I do, I'll show you first if you're like, what is a deep waver? These, remember these? There used to be like 3-barrel irons, and they made a smaller wave. This is the actual Hot Tools deep waver. So what I do is I use a deep waver and a curling iron in tandem. And I use curls and waves to kind of mix up the texture so that it's not so congruent, and you don't look like you have this perfect wave all the way down. I like hair that's a little messier and a little more textured. So I am going to, like I said, I deep waved all the way around the bottom just because that was the first section that it isn't seen that much. So I just did it all the way at the bottom because it's easier. So I am going to start with this next section by teasing at the roots, a little spray, as I always do. And this one is actually going to be a curl, since this first section right here is waved. And I'm going to start right at the roots, just like I would curl my hair any other day, and turning it and leaving a good amount of the ends out. And then once I have that one curled, my next section right behind it then will be waved. I alternate them. I do the same thing to prep. I tease it at the base, a light hold hairspray, and then I hold it out when I deep wave it. It's also important to notice that with your waver, you want the first wave to go up. You don't want to flip it to go under. So the side with one should go down. So right at the roots again, just like with an iron. And I do about 2 for my length of hair so that I can still have some straight ends. If your hair is a little bit frizzy or curly naturally, you can go through and straighten the ends first. Just take your straightener and do like the last, 2 inches or so. So grabbing around the back, I do the same thing. Holding it up, teasing right at the base, nice and tight, not raking that whole strand of hair. A little bit of hairspray. I'm going to divide this up into 2 pieces. And this first one I'm going to curl right at the roots, turning it around, and then leaving the ends out. This piece I then wave. And you just clamp and move. And again, if I thought the ends were too curly or wavy, I just take a flat iron and straighten them. Now with the side, holding it up, making sure you're not teasing like this, holding it straight up and right at the base. Curling iron. There's a little bit of water in my sink. There we go. And then wave towards the front. It's not perfect, it doesn't have to be, The more you mix it up, the better. So don't make it harder than it is. Now this last section through the top, I'll work with the back first. So whatever amount you want to go back, and then I'll just pull this off to the side so it's out of the way. Now, I think the biggest mistake people make with teasing their hair is that they just tease the top. I do a lot of my teasing on the interior layers of the hair, basically from here up. People, when you just tease the top of your hair, you get kind of like this tall, dome-shaped looking hair, and it never stays. So you really have to lock in the foundation of your teasing lower on your head instead of just doing it at the top. And it also helps to do it before you curl or wave or whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, so this piece I'll wave. You never want to hold, you want your hair to go into the iron smoothly. If I were to tip the iron up, I would get that crease mark right on the top. So making sure that the hair goes into that part smoothly without tipping this up is a big deal. So waving it, going to the second part. All right. The only part that stinks is having a small bathroom and 2 appliances plugged in at once. So this part I will curl. Really, I know I say this every time that I curl hair, but putting it on the base of the hair, that's going to help with volume. Instead of starting at the, the mid-lengths and rolling it up, you're heating the mid-lengths. You want to really heat the base the longest because that's where you really want your curl to stay. And I'm still leaving, I think you can tell, quite a bit out. But see how that already just stays out. And then I let everything cool in the position that it's in, so it will set longer. So this is still stuff that I want to go back. The only thing I did to my hair before, as far as products, is I put a volumizing powder through the top. And that was it. So with this stuff, right at the base, keeping your teasing back combing in very tight. See how it doesn't look ratted. A little hairspray. Just helps it hold. Now, like I said, don't use a firm hold hairspray. You are going to create super glue at your roots, and you don't want that. Let's see how that curl stays. I'm going to wave this middle piece, so I'm just going to put it over here while I have my iron out. Right at the roots, turning. And leave it. Let it cool. Now this middle piece I'm going to wave. And you can choose what kind of sections you want to do. Obviously the smaller sections you do, the more varied textures you're going to have. Making sure you don't tip that iron towards my face or I'll have that crease mark. And it doesn't take long. So just make sure it goes in there smoothly. All right. And making sure you put that first wave right at the roots too, so that you can take advantage of the height there. Now, let's see. I might do one more thin section just going back. And then I'm going to have to determine whether or not I side part it or center part. If you don't change your part, your hair tends to fall flat because it, in a sense, gets used to where it's at. So it's good to change your part around from time to time. It does feel uncomfortable if you've worn it one way for a long time, but it's good and it can create volume. If I normally part my hair on this side and all of a sudden I flip it center or flip it this side, I have hair that used to come this way that I'm pushing that way, and it just creates more volume and more lift naturally. So it's good. A little hairspray. I'm just going to do this in 2 pieces here. All right, so I think I will center, or I will side part this. So I normally part right here on this side when I do a side part, which means I'm going to take smaller sections as I work across. So I'll pull this part down. And this is, it's literally on repeat, holding it up, teasing right at the base, a little hairspray. I'm going to divide this in 2, and I'm going to wave the back one. And I'll probably leave that amount straight. Now towards my face, towards my face and on the top, I tend to not really like so much of a wave or so much curl, and so I do them a little bit more relaxed, and I pull them out towards the end. So same thing, pulling another section down. Holding it straight up, back combing at the base. Hairspray. Now for this one, I'm going to actually curl both of these. There's really no rhyme or reason other than what I just said. I really just don't like these pieces to be waved. Personal taste. Experiment and figure out what you like. And I start these a little bit further away from the base too, so that they don't go all the way up. All right. I like to diagonal part when I side part, and I have a lot of clients that I do this to, and then they realize they really like it. The reason, some side parts look awesome when you get it all the way over here and you get all this volume to the top, and then there's nothing over here. It just depends on the look you're going for. But a lot of times people tell me then they don't have any hair on this side that, you know, the part is on. So if you diagonal part it, you still get the illusion of a very side part, but you don't have to sacrifice all the hair. So you can still have fullness over here. And everything is curled away from my face with an iron. Always. It's the rule. Okay. this part, this is what's left, and just dividing it in two. Now, there's no rule that says you can't tease the front of your head. That's the other thing people forget about. They get this like huge bump right here on the top and in the back, and then super flat on the sides. So unless you have like a perfectly round head full of really full hair, you're not going to have that naturally. I am going to actually wave this piece. And curl this last one. Okay, and then to end it, I just do either a styling clay or a styling putty or taffy. I add some oil because that will decrease the actual tackiness of it, so it's not like sticky. Just to define it, but I start with most of it on my fingertips all the way emulsified, and I put it in where my back combing is, and I kind of just break it up enough so that you don't see sections of back combing. And then I go through and I pull out the curls, and I emphasize the straight ends. If I need a little more. Use it to kind of like tame all the little frizzy flyaways. And then the finished result is kind of mixed textures. It's messy. There's you know, the patterns don't align, and so it doesn't look, this one's always too curly for me. It doesn't look too fake, I guess. When I see a lot of deep textured waves, I mean, like a lot of kids look really good with deep textured, but I feel like when you're 30, you maybe can't pull off the same looks you could when you were 10. And it looks really good, but other times it's too much. And so I like to kind of mix it up with some curls. You know, I might see a piece there's too much wave here, and so I can go back and put a curl there. And then just kind of mix it all up. Out of hairspray. The other thing I want to tell you, if you do use just a deep waver and you don't mix in any curls with it, stagger the points where you start it. So if you start it right at the roots and then you move down and then you grab the next piece next to it, start it a little bit further down, like just slightly, so that they kind of bricklay and offset. That way it's not like your head is like, seriously, it looks like a wig. It looks too fake. So you gotta be smart about your placement of the waver and making sure that it doesn't look too fake. But yeah, like that one I went back and redid. So very, like, lots of mixed up textures. I'll have to see the back once I get done. But it's a fun, something else to do. I don't know, I had this laying around forever and I thought I haven't used it, so let's see if I can do something fun with it. That's all I have. So thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, I'll post a picture of the final look and how it's styled. All right, thanks.